In this lecture, we will do the integration between SAP S/4HANA Finance and Sourcing and Procurement module. So as a consultant, you want to know the integration points between SAP S/4HANA Finance and Controlling and SAP S/4HANA Sourcing and Procurement or Material Management module. So that's the business scenario. This activity is done by SAP consultants. They can either be SAP Finance consultant or SAP S/4HANA Sourcing and Procurement consultant. So they have to collaborate together in order to do this integration. When I will show you the step-by-step integration, you will understand at which step can be done by SAP Finance Consultant and which one has to be done by the SAP Sourcing and Procurement Consultant. Now, the transaction code that is normally used to define the GL accounts for material management is OBYC. If you are not already familiar with this transaction code, you can make a note of it. And here it's menu path. Here you have to assign the GL accounts in the transactions for MM. For an example, inventory postings. For inventory postings, we use the transaction key BSX. Similarly, for offsetting entry for inventory posting, it is GBP. Unplanned delivery cost, UPF. Purchase input tax, VST. Output tax, MWS. General ledger clearing accounts, WRX. So all these MM transactions require GL accounts. So that these transactions can be posted into particular GL accounts at finance side. So that's what we have to do. And along with that, there will be some other requirements which you need to understand in order to make these integration points. So on the system, you can either run the transaction code OBYC or you can go through the menu path. Let's go through the menu path. Hit the transaction SPRO and then go under SAP reference IMG and then you have to go under the node material management and you can access the node under valuation and account assignment and then expand the node account determination and then account determination without wizard. Here there are 4 to 5 steps which you have to do as a part of configurations. So the OBY6 transaction code you can access through this node, that is the configuration automatic postings. So if you execute it, you can click cancel and then click account assignments and then you will be landed the transaction code OBYC. It is a long menu path to access this transaction. It's better you can if you access through the transaction code, not through the menu path. So here is as I mentioned that there was few transactions which you have must to assign the GL accounts, for example, inventory postings. So double click on it and the dialog box will ask you for chart of accounts. And here we are using the standard chart of accounts that is INT provided by the SAP. Press enter to continue. And you will notice that the integration has already been done. You can see the assignments of GL accounts has already been made, along with combination of valuation modification and valuation classes. Now, because we have copied the GL chart of accounts, so SAP has already done this integration. Because we were using the chart of accounts template that is assigned to our company code, and this assignment has already been made. So you just have to understand as a consultant that what if you have to make an integration points in between sourcing and procurement and finance? What is the valuation modification and what is the valuation class? So that's what I have to make you understand. Then we will see the GL accounts. Let us take an example of a raw material. For a raw material, we use the valuation class. Now, if you click on this, and you will see that 3000 represents the raw material as a valuation class, and the valuation modification is 0001. Now, and with the combination, if a material master is a raw material, then the posting will be made into the GL accounts. Now, what is valuation modification? What is valuation modification? So it is actually a valuation modifier. It is also known as a valuation grouping code. It is also called as a valuation grouping code. It indicates a grouping of valuation areas having some business properties for the account determination. It minimizes the number of entries to be created for automatic account determination for the stock postings. Before using valuation grouping code, it needs to be activated in the transaction code OMWM. And here it's menu path. So if we follow the menu path by going back, you can see that is the first step. Define valuation control. Now, if you execute it, so the first thing you have to check whether the valuation grouping code is active or not. So it is already active. Now go back. Further, it is assigned to the valuation area in the transaction code OMWT. And here it's menu path. So together with the other factors, the valuation grouping code determines the GL accounts to which the goods movement is posted. That is automatic account determination. For an example, the valuation area 1000 and 2000 are required to be posted to the same GL accounts. They are grouped to the valuation group code 0001 and the GL account is determined based on the valuation grouping code and the valuation class. So that's what I will show you on the SAP system. So I'm already under the node account determination without wizard. So go to the second step, that is group together valuation areas. Execute it, and here you can see the valuation area. If you remember that in the beginning we have defined the valuation area in the enterprise structure. And SAP provides two options for the valuation area at plant level or valuation area at the company code level. So we choose the valuation area at the plant level. So the valuation area also represents our plant. Now, if you go to the position and then search your plant and then press enter to continue, and you can see the assignment. Valuation area or plant and the company code are here in the valuation group code as we mentioned in this slide. That if two valuation areas, such as in our case, these plans are required to be posted in the same GL accounts, and these are grouped to the valuation group code 0001. And the GL is determined based on the valuation grouping code and the valuation class. Now I will enter the 0001 here against the UK plant, and the same valuation grouping code I will enter against the US plant. Hit save and create a new customizing request, and it will be the valuation grouping code. Hit save, press enter to continue, and the data was saved. Now, if you go to the transaction code OBYC, you understand that why valuation modifier represents the 0001 and where is it configured. So its configured is here. Valuation area, company codes, chart of accounts, and valuation grouping code. And the value and that valuation grouping code determines the GL accounts with the combination of valuation class, right? Now, the question is, what is valuation class? As I already mentioned that it represents the different types of materials such as raw materials, okay? But I will demonstrate you in more details. Now, if you go back, now you have the third step, that is defined valuation class. If you do not want to follow the menu, its transaction code is OMSA. So the valuation class categorizes the GL accounts on the basis of material type. Example, the raw materials will have a different GL accounts than the finished materials, as the cost will be different in both the cases. Account category references is also maintained along with the valuation class. That's what I will demonstrate you on SAP system. The valuation class has the following functions. It allows these stocks values for the materials of the same material type to be posted to the different GL accounts. Stock values of materials of the different materials type to be posted to the same GL accounts. It determines, together with other factors, the GL accounts updated for evaluation relevant transactions such as the good movements. It is defined for the combination of plant and the material in accounting one view of material master. Go to the SAP, and so let's execute the defined valuation class. And the first thing you have to check is the account category reference. So account category reference is already been provided by SAP. So these are the templates which you have to take a look. Account category reference for raw material is 0001. And if you go back, the second valuation class, click on it, you can see the combination of valuation class. As I showed you that the valuation class is 3000 represents the raw material and the account category references 0001 also refers the raw material. So this is the table is already been provided by SAP which may company can use. Otherwise, we can also create their customized valuation class and account category reference. Now go back. The third is the material type or account category reference. Now here you can see the material type. So as we mentioned, the material type refers to different types of materials. SAP has already provided the template of material type that can be used. For an example, if you can see here, FERT material type refers to the finished product. Similarly, if you scroll down, we have a trading goods represented by HAWA, semi-finished products represented by HALB, and further, if you scroll down, you can also find the raw materials that is represented by ROH. And it is assigned to the account category reference 0001. Now, sometimes this assignment is missing and user can have an error while working or creating the purchase order into the SAP S/4HANA sourcing and procurement module. So they have to come to know that this assignment is missing. So you just have to check whether the assignment is already made. If you're going to use the transaction or if you're going to use the standard material type and the standard account category reference by not creating your own custom material type, now you have to know the valuation class is 3000 and the material type is ROH for the raw material. And you also know that this 3000 valuation class is assigned to the transaction OBYC that determines the GL accounts and the combination of valuation modifier. So as I mentioned that this valuation class is also defined in the material master accounting one view. For an example of the raw materials and the valuation class is assigned under the customizing accounting one tab. So whenever this material will be used in that transaction, so automatically the valuation class will be picked up from the general ledger account and that will be the 300,000. So you know how the cycle or the combination works in order to determine the general ledger account into your financial module. Okay. Now if you go back and go under the transaction GBP that represents the offsetting entry in the inventory posting. So if you double click on it, you will be landed on the screen. Now here you can see a new column that says the general modification or the account modification. Now where is it coming and what it is? Its transaction is OMWN. This is the key is used to determine the different GL accounts for the same kind of a goods movements based on the origin and target. When making offset entries for the inventory posting, you can enter the key which is assigned to the transaction key for the moment type in transaction code OMWN. And that's what I will demonstrate to you. If you go back and go to the next step that is define account grouping for moment types, execute it, and you are already in the transaction code OMWN. So that is for the account modification or general modification. And this is represented by the second last column, that is account modification. Now, if you go back to the transaction code OBYC, and you can take a look that it got a value of AUA, AUF. So what is it? Now, if you go back to the transaction code OMWN, we can see that the value of AUF here, and you can also see the current entry of GBP AUF here as well, right in the same transaction. Now, if you go back, the first column is moment type. So what is moment type? So moment type is a three-character key which differentiates the various material moments. For an example, if it is a goods receipt, so the moment type that will be picked up is 101. Similarly, for goods issue, the transfer posting will have their own moment type. If you click on moment type, you can take a look. SAP's already has been provided the list of moment types that represents the nature of material moments. So, as you can see, 101 represents the goods receipt and further 102 for PO reversal. So, the different transactions into the sourcing and procurement modules are done by choosing the right momentum. Okay. And you have to return the vendor moment type, and further if you go down you can see that you have the moment type for transfer plant to plant, transfer plant in storage locations. So the list of moment type is already been provided by SAP, but you can create your own custom moment types as well. We will have a separate lecture on moment types in our upcoming lectures. At the moment, you can just see the combination with the moment types and then the special stock. Special stock is represented by a single alphabet. As you can see it, if as you can see, if we take a look at 101, that is goods, receipts, and K. And if we click on this button, you will notice that L represents the supplier consignment and special stock indicator can be looked at with the combination of moment type and the valuation updating and value updating and the quantity update. So these are the part of materials, and that if the materials will come to your stock, the value will be updated and the quantity will be updated as well. So you have the moment indicator, consumption, and value strings, consecutive counters, and transactions event key. So these transaction event key, you can already see them in the transaction OBYC. So here you can see the transaction GBP, and in the GBP the combination of valuation, modifier, general modification, valuation class, and then we have a debit and credit GL accounts accordingly offsetting into the entry for inventory posting. So the table has already been provided by SAP with all the possible options. You can take a look. Now, if you're wondering that how you can make these columns, from where these columns come, when you are in the transaction OBYC, so basically these are called rules. Now you have an option here, rules. Now if you click on this button, you will notice that before making any assignment, so this assignment is already there because we are using the standard chartered accounts. But if you are not using the standard chartered accounts for your organization, which is most probably the finance consultant job, so they will be using a custom standard chart of accounts, and the assignments for all the accounts will not be there. So when he comes first time on the screen, he will have an option to make a rule by creating or by marking these check boxes. So whatever the combination he likes, maybe he doesn't like the general modification, he also have an option to uncheck it. But SAP Standard has made this assignment with the combination of all these four, right? Now if you go back, you can double click and then come back on the screen. You can see the combination of valuation modifier, general modifier, valuation, class, debit, and credit. Now you can understand that how these three columns have got the values and their transaction codes as separate. And with the combination of them, there is an integration with GL accounts. So similarly, if you go back, you have to ensure that for almost all the transaction codes which will be used in sourcing and procurement module, there should be an assignment with the GL accounts. For an example, output tax, if you double click on it, you have already got an assignment for output tax. If you scroll down, we have the GRIR clearing account. if we take a look, we have already got an assignment for the GL account here as well. So if any of the GL account is missing, then you can have an error in the sourcing and procurement module. And in the live business environment, you have to speak to the finance consultant in order to assign the GL accounts. Because maybe a sourcing and procurement consultant does not know that which particular GL account will be made for a particular transaction. For an example, the PRD, the cost price differences, he doesn't know this number. Maybe the sourcing and the procurement consultant does not know that which particular GL account assignment will be made for a particular consultant. Okay. So but for your practice, if you will use the standard chart of accounts that is INT, you do not need to worry about this assignment. You must know how to make an assignment if you have to work in the live business environment. Now there is a third transaction code that is OMWB, and it is an automatic posting where used left in GL accounts in account determination. Now if you run the transaction code OMWB, click cancel and then click on GL accounts and then enter your company code, enter your valuation area and then execute it. Now you have a broader view for all the assignments of GL accounts in one screen. So that's what you can see. I have showed you in the PRD cost price difference. Now you can also see valuation grouping code. That's what you can see. You can also see the valuation grouping code, and these are the GL account numbers, right? It may be helpful transaction code when you start working as a consultant. So this will be quite handy. Now that's the end of our lecture, and I will proceed to the next activity.